All right, come on. As one Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, checking in for a daily Move Swiftly thought, giving your perspective on teamwork you will not get anywhere else. Let's get into some politics. According to this, it is October 17th, 2024. We're about, I believe, like 20 or so days away from the election. And I've come out and have said on multiple occasions, Donald Trump has my vote. Not particularly because I'm a huge fan of the individual, but the more time goes on and the more Kamala Harris speaks and the more bullshit that she puts out, I'm more so kind of in the place that a lot of Democrats are, where they're voting for Harris because they don't like Trump. I'm starting to dislike Harris to the point in which Democrats dislike Trump. And it pains me to have to actually say that, because I don't think it's her specifically that I don't like. I think the party has set her up to be in a situation where she's just not being able to, it's not a fair fight. We'll say it like that. It's not a fair fight because the party set her up in a situation where the previous president, Joe Biden, he dropped out in the 11th hour and kind of left her with a messy situation and put her in a situation where she's just not running her campaign her own. You could tell a lot of the answers are fabricated, a lot of the bullshit, a lot of the interviews, every fucking word out of her mouth is about what Trump is and isn't doing and how she wants to just blame Trump for everything, right? So since that's the energy she's putting out there, today's Move Swiftly thought is going to be another reason why Donald Trump is the responsible vote. It's the responsible vote, all right? So, like I said, recording this the 17th of October, and I reside out here in West Palm Beach, Florida. And if you haven't been living under a rock, you know that the state of Florida last week was bracing for a huge hurricane. Fortunately, my area wasn't hit as hard as other areas, but there was several areas out here in Florida that were hit incredibly hard, and just the buildup and the few days going into that storm, it showed a lot about the candidates and what they're able to do for America and what they're really all about, what they can really get done in terms of leadership and who's going to be the best for the position. You have the Kamala Harris side, who, she's doing a bunch of interviews and she's like on a media blitz at this particular time, and she's going back and forth. There's back and forth between her and the governor of Florida, Governor DeSantis. There's just some just rhetoric and things that don't need to be happening in a time where politics needs to be put aside, and we need to figure out how we're going to create solutions for these people that are going to be losing loved ones, losing houses, losing cars, their neighborhoods completely ruined because of this storm, right? So you had Harris doing all that shit, basically. You had her doing a bunch of that bullshit, a bunch of the politics, playing a bunch of the political games. And then you had Donald Trump. I remember the night before, he had over 275 FPL workers, which stands for Florida Power and Light Company, and they're housed in his Trump Towers. I believe it was in Doral, and he housed 275 of them. So, after the storm hit, they knew exactly where they need to go, and he made it so it was that they were going to be okay. I'll say it like that. But he housed these workers. He's housed these FPL workers. So after the storm, they knew exactly where they needed to go, and that they would be in better position to help the ones that have lost power, help the people that have lost their houses, help the people that have lost a lot of things that were just ruined throughout the storm, ruined during the storm, and know exactly where they need to be. That's what he had in his Trump Towers. Now, I'm not necessarily giving Donald Trump all the credit for this, because who knows who came up with the idea? Who knows if it was somebody on his team, somebody in his party, whatever, the campaign manager who thought of the idea. The bottom line is, it was his side that thought of something to do for the people, and not be in a situation where you're playing a bunch of political games and having this one rant about this on this podcast and tell them about what this candidate is and isn't doing. All that shit is just very, very irresponsible. And again, it leads me back to what I was telling you guys before, the responsible decision. It's not about the decision in terms of identity, in terms of what's going to benefit as one the most, because truth be told, even though I am a black man, a former high school football coach, college scout, very into sports, and would like the identity of Harrison Walls, I would like just the look of it. It's not the responsible decision for me to, be in business and serve the people that have been gracious enough to bless me, been gracious enough to be a part of my community, be a part of my show, be a part of my brand, be a part of the things that I'm about. Those people deserve a responsible leader, being folks that are going to be responsible to the business community, and for you to be able to be in a situation where you have your name on a building, on Trump Towers and all that, and for you to be able to provide housing for the people in Florida that are losing their houses, losing their cars, things from the storm and all that. For you to be in a position to do that, that's the responsible choice, because you're doing what you have to do to help the people. And that should be the only discussion that we're having. So I will have more on this, trust me, as we get closer to the election season. This woman is doing some things, especially me as a black man. I am incredibly offended with a lot of the bullshit that she has put out there in response to, actually, I read her entire proposal. I read that entire thing, entire 9 pages. I read that. It's available on this very channel. I read it, and you can see, again, it's line to line. You can see as a black man how offensive the language is in that little note. I don't even know what the fuck to call it, but in this little memo that she put out for black people, where she's gonna make it easier to get a loan and get weed and scratch criminal records. I mean, it's incredibly offensive, the kind of stuff that she's putting out there for black men. So again, I'm more so moving on the side of, I just don't want to put that woman in office because of how offensive it is as a black man that doesn't smoke weed, that doesn't, run around looking for a bunch of loans and all that kind of stuff, or forgivable loans. And the language that she put in there is incredibly offensive. So, and if as a black person, if you're not offended with what she put out there, again, there's a real problem. There's a real problem, all right? Anyway, before I get off my soapbox, main website to check out to dive deeper into all my work, it's makeyourmove.com. It's makeyourmove.com. One-stop shop for all your teamwork and your self-development needs. As one, Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, checking out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.